So in this video, I want to talk about how Moon in Capricorn teaches us emotional integrity. Now, since that is my own moon, which is why this is such a juicy and rich subject for me, and what I'm going to share with you is based on, well, I'm 52 in a few months, so I don't know, at least 40 years of me actively observing my moon. And even if you don't astrology, even if you're not an astrologer or even not into astrology and don't speak the language of astrology, we are fascinated by our emotions of the moon, right? From the day one. So that's why I'm taking myself back to the age of 10 or even earlier, much earlier. We're observing our feelings. We are fascinated by them, um, you know, depressed by them, excited by them, but it's like we are in most dynamic conversation and dialogue and engagement with our emotions from as far as we can remember. And even if we don't remember, we have a cellular memory of it. So my own emotions fascinated me, and the fluctuations and all the instability that comes with the moon, the continuation, the never-ending cycleness of it, and the undulations and the waves and ebbing and flowing. And so that was from the beginning, but then I introduced astrology into my language of understanding myself from sort of early teens, and the rest is history. So, and it's been a focus on then Moon in Capricorn as such, since that's mine. So I'm saying all this so you know there is a hefty amount of research behind what I'm going to share with you, and observation, and obviously on myself, but then I have known many Moon in Capricorns in my life, but some clients as well, but mostly kind of based on life experience. The second piece there, being Moon in Capricorn, and just generally, maybe just being me, but I was always careful not to, well, to be very clear about my bias, and then also to figure out if there's any kind of wisdom here that's applicable and can be shared, and actually isn't just because it's my Moon in Capricorn and I love it. Well, I love it now, but I struggled with it for many, many years when I was much younger. So that's what I was also spending all this time, well, certainly the last few years, kind of being clearer and understanding how much of this is universal, if you like, and how much is just my own. So a quick note there for anyone joining me now for the first time is I'm a 3-5 in human design. That's my profile, 3-5. That means everything I share, everything I am is based on my own. I have lived it, and therefore, so experimented and trial error, learned through mistakes. And then the fifth profile is the one who kind of sees that universality, as in like can see the bigger picture, kind of extract oneself from the personality of the experience and the too closeness of it, and then is able to share it in a way that is understandable, even if you, so back to this very point here, this very video, even if you don't have Moon in Capricorn. So because that's my point, Moon in Capricorn, just as an archetypal combination, teaches us about emotional integrity. So some more on just general astrology here, before I go into my actual story, or just what I want to share, is that this is the model I'm using, the model I have seen that it's at work here is a planet that's at home is then in that particular, in these cases, is in its detriment, meaning in opposite to its home placement. So Moon is at home in Cancer. That's its, Cancer rules Moon. And that if there's one rulership that I do not ever doubt, that's the one. And in fact, I don't doubt for many, but there are some planets and some sort of signs that I'm not sure if the old rulerships work anymore and all that. Anyway, but so when you have a planet in planet that is opposite its home, it's in its detriment, so called, then that particular axis becomes an opportunity. That's why I always call that this is a gift when you have planets in detriment or fall. But I particularly like to speak about detriments because that's my own personal experience. It's a gift and phenomenal opportunity and invitation to integrate the axis. So that would be another example. So just to quickly step out a little bit out of this moon in Capricorn, would be Venus, that's it at home in Libra. So if you have Venus in Aries, again, like I do, then you would have this fantastic opportunity and, like I say, cosmic invitation, a gift to integrate all things relationships and individuality, and Aries, Libra, codependence, independence, passive aggressive, just right, outright aggressive, all that kind of, like I say, Aries, Libra archetypes, because you have Venus the furthest from home. She's at home in Aries, in your case, in my case, right? But she's furthest away from its natural home. So the tension between the two is your native, given tension that you are tasked to work through and find that equilibrium, for your lifetime. So the same would go if you have Venus in Scorpio, because Venus is also at home in Taurus. And although there are debates that Earth rules Taurus, so that would make Venus, well, I don't know actually what would make her, but that's my point. So there are only, I personally think that Venus rules Libra more than Taurus, because, yeah, anyway, I'm not going to go into that. But my point is, so if your planet is opposite its home and it's in detriment, the invitation is there to integrate that particular axis and all that axis stands for. So back to moon in Capricorn, being that it's moon, therefore emotionality, emotions, right? And then being that it's Capricorn, that's the integration. So it's like the planet becomes the theme, and the integration, integrity piece is the axis, the fact that it's that planet is in its furthest away from home. So integrity isn't just Capricorn theme, even though it's considered to be a Capricorn theme. And I wonder, and I think it's possibly to do with this, the fact that it's furthest away from moon, and unless we are integrated and in our integrity, this most personal, most core part of ourselves, it's like the core, right? So if that isn't in integrity, then the ripples, and that there's no building blocks to then build the rest of ourselves on those blocks and build on our integrity. So I think that's possibly why Capricorn is kind of considered to be an archetype of integrity. But again, Venus in Scorpio or in Aries, or Mercury in Pisces or in Sagittarius would be the call for integration. So it doesn't have to be Capricorn. That's what I'm trying to explain here. Maybe unnecessarily, maybe everyone's getting this and I wasted a minute or two, but hey. I want to just explain another concept, another kind of permutation here for clarity purposes, although I could well mud the waters, I hope not. So I was just thinking, like, the difference between any other planet that you have in any other non-detriment or non-fall. So I don't know, let's say Sun in Taurus, right? That's mine. So it's neither here nor there. It's just Sun in Taurus. So every placement is an invitation for integration. So in Sun in Taurus, it's about the Scorpio Taurus axis, and it's the Sun is all again. So you have the Taurus and Scorpio axis, but then you add a third player, which is Sun. And all the Sun stands for, which is identity, self-expression, creativity, life force, blah, blah, blah. My point there, so versus just detriment and domicile, meaning at home. Domicile means at home. So it's just that. It's kind of like condensed, purified, alchemized to its essence. There is no adding another layer or another ingredient. So domicile, detriment is that purity, because it's the moon in its opposite. There is no third player. So it's like the axis in itself is the opposition. So, and it's really just, it's like a scale, like you just have something that's just gone the other way, but it's staying on the same track. So that's why it's like the cleanest lesson, if you like. Cleanest, not morally speaking, just in a sense of, it's an axiom. It's like, there is no, like I say, anything third added to it. So in the case of Taurus Sun, It's about integrating the Taurus Scorpio axis, but there is the third player Sun that just changes that axis. This stays on the axis. That's why it's a great domicile and detriment, a great integration teachers for all of us. It's more universal because at the core of all the integration work is the axis. And in the domicile detriment, that is the movement stays on the axis, doesn't veer off and gets the third player in. So no idea if this has just confused even anyone, or it hasn't. To me, it was really important to clarify, so hopefully it was helpful to you too. So now let me talk about my own personal experience with my own moon in Capricorn and how I arrived at this conclusion that actually it's the ultimate model for emotional integrity to have moon in Capricorn. And not that I have emotional integrity. I mean, I'd like to think I do, and I think I do, but I'm sure there's work to be done always. So it's not that, I'm not an example necessarily in itself, but to be contemplating, it's like if you want to learn how to gain and cultivate and create and nurture and build emotional integrity, study people with moon in Capricorn, but maybe more so study the two archetypes, the moon and Saturn, or the moon and Saturn, right, and the Capricorn and Cancer. And there lies your lesson, the wisdom, that then you can model your own emotional integrity, even if you have moon elsewhere or in principle. And I'll talk about the principle. So that's my point. The Capricorn Cancer story and detail of the content of the myth and the archetypal story, right, is not so relevant. It's like the skeleton of it, the framework. And this also includes shadow work, in the sense that how to integrate a shadow of a sign or how to own it, and by owning it you integrate it. So a typical description of moon in Capricorn, and often depicted as a negative, is that emotional reservedness, coldness, control. So emotions are controlled, and this dislike for drama, emotional drama. Now I attest to all of that. That's me through and through. So my task, this is again an example of my shadow work, has been, for me, the way I went about it was that I didn't see a problem. I felt deeply inside of me, like genuine, like when no one's watching, when I'm not trying to pretend to be someone so that someone likes me or whatever. I felt that there's nothing wrong with these qualities. They just felt like real home for me, and felt supportive and nurturing to me, like the best friends. Those were the guys, the qualities I just listed, right? Who I felt actually meant well, and who had my best interest at heart. And those who had a problem with those qualities were the ones who had, hidden agendas, right? So this was a long process. This wasn't just like, oh yeah, that's what it is, and I'll just therefore own all this. I still had to struggle with my fear of rejection, and it was like a secret. That's how I knew that was my truth, and it's a great truth, and I loved it, but I still feared expressing it more openly and wearing it more openly and showing it to the world and standing by that and showing my love for that part of me, because I knew, and I was proven right, because, well, that's nothing about proven or not proven right. My Sagittarius Mars kicking in there. But that's just how it is. Some people will not like that, full stop, but that it took me a long time to gather strength to withstand that, to just gotta go, well, that's you and this is me, and I still love it, even if you seem to have such a problem with it, kind of thing. So what is this? Why do I love this? these qualities: coldness, reservedness, control. I think control is probably kind of the umbrella under which comes that, because if you want to control something, you need to get a bit rigid. You need to kind of not toughen up, like be tough, just literally just get harder so you can control it. You can't, well, you can. Just had a quick image of a conductor, that controls the orchestra with what looks like just nothing, just fluff and air or whatever. But I would imagine, I'm not expert here whatsoever, but I wouldn't be surprised if that you have to train to be one. So there's a lot of control before that becomes a flow and almost indescribable Neptunian exercise. So this to exercise control, to practice something before you get to the flow state, you need a lot of that control Saturnian Capricornian work. So controlling emotions. So why do I love it? And I love it, love it, love it, love it, because I was going to say it shapes me, but that wasn't enough, because it shows me. So I don't know, maybe you're getting me already. Maybe you have Moon in Capricorn anyway and you're getting what I mean, but maybe not. So let me use an example of the three qualities here, of the Moon and the Capricorn and sort of Saturnian. Well, Capricorn and Saturn, kind of the same thing. So two qualities, but there are three layers I'm going to talk about. So our inner landscape, where this integrity is going to be materializing, meaning we will be owning our inner landscape and as our own, like claiming the territory, right? Mars in Taurus language, current transit, is the way I see it. Again, it's my own being. That's my moon. That your moon is your own inner landscape, the most kind of intimate and private, but intimate, like the one possibly only you know or feel, maybe not even know, but just feel. So it's like a mountain range seen from above, or if you're a climber and you have ever climbed like a limestone rock, like Mediterranean type, so it's just full of little peaks, like little rugged bits that you can hang on to. It's great actually for climbing, and you can, just a tiny little piece of rock just sticks out of the not smooth surface, like a rough surface, right? But it's like a good hook, and it's a rock, so it will hold you. It's phenomenal actually. Anyway, so either that, or if you can see, like a mountain range, and it's full of those peaks and troughs and valleys, and but I'm talking top end, so it's usually not necessarily drop all the way down. So it's and then imagine clouds or some kind of maybe gooier non-real world mass settling onto that. That's your moon and your emotions basically, and your internal container, or your container, and its internals is like this mountain range. So this moon, or your emotions, or this gooey kind of thick cloudy mass, is settling onto this landscape and being so soft and being so sensitive. It feels every little prick of that that surface that's full of those pokey peaks, right? Sharp edges, hard edges, right? And its softness of this thing landing on it is just being pierced and basically felt, and it's painful. It's like intense, and it's so much. However, what a Capricorn moon doesn't want to do, and what I mean, it's showing me. If it wasn't for these emotions, I would not know my landscape, because the emotions landing on this rugged landscape, in this metaphor that I just described, this image, this visual, it's like it's feeling all those, it's touching on everything because it's so soft and fluid and gooey, and it's like water, right? Moon, water, Cancer. It goes everywhere. There's nothing that is not filled in this landscape that I just described, but because it's so soft, it's painful, and it's uncomfortable, and it's like when you're walking, just woke up and you're just walking out on a rough terrain, like limestone, sorry, surface, or even just a gravel type of beach. You know the feeling, like you just go it's that kind of pain, right? It's not necessarily excruciating, but it's not comfortable, and it can be excruciating. But my point here of the showing me is that as it settles in every pore of me, this emotion, this emotional wave, this emotional hit I had just because I've experienced something, or I'm going through something in my life, or I'm just feeling it. And the bigger the better, the bigger the more it shows me of me. Settles eventually. So, and in all this process, I'm controlling, because, and you'll see why at the end. And so I'm not letting it spill. I'm kind of the facade from the front. You will not see mountains move. They will just be looking sturdy and solid as always. But there's all this stuff going on that it's not visible on the surface, on the outside rather. And then when it's all settled, it's like the mask when you put on a face. You peel it off, and it has the shape of your face. I mean, it's maybe negative, maybe forget about that necessarily. A metaphor piece maybe wasn't the best metaphor. But you get what I mean. It's like, it's the shape of the face. And it might not be even negative, I don't know. That's what I'm talking about. I don't want any of that to be spilling, because it won't give me, I might need it to fill in every single, every gap, and I might sometimes not have enough. So in a way, a Capricorn moon, and trust me on this, all we ever ask is to be left alone when that's happening. And that's another kind of, moon in Capricorn will never show you how vulnerable they are, and like that's a weakness. Well, I don't do that anymore. I don't think like that anymore. I don't call it a weakness. I saw it as a weakness for so long. But my explanation, I should call it defense, right, for this argument, this offense, as is that it's like, why would I show my vulnerability to someone? Okay, if I want to connect with them, yes, but it has to be like intimate relationship, absolutely. Oh, absolutely. But I think it's kind of more general view that it's it's wrong, it's a weakness if you're not vulnerable to just anyone and everyone. Well, I don't agree with that. It's like, why would you? What's in it for me? Why? What am I gonna gain by just showing my vulnerability here on a public platform? That's fine, but that's a different game. So sorry, slightly went off track there. So back to my original point, where I left off before I went off on this tangent, is that Capricorn moon actually loves experiencing intense emotions. Absolutely loves it. There's something quite very sensual about it, because all this terrain gets soaked, or rather, soaked. So I'm back to now water metaphor. And it's a dry terrain. It is a dry terrain. And so there is something so loving about and nurturing, properly nourishing, like plant, like meaning like dry land gets watered. And so the more intense, the better, like a proper rainfall or something, right? But we absolutely demand to be left alone while we are processing that, because it's how we get to know ourselves. It's how we get to feel ourselves fully, completely. It's because we don't spill ourselves, i.e. show how we are feeling. The experience of having emotions for a Capricorn moon is for the Capricorn moon. It's like for ourselves, like if you too have Capricorn moon. But actually, and this is the piece that it's actually a lesson for everyone, emotions, to feel them, is really for ourselves to process. It's not to just spill out. There is absolute power in witnessing, but again, I'm going to go off on a tangent if I carry on down that road, so I'm not. But there is as much, in fact, it's like a step. It's like this needs to come first before the witnessing. There is at least as much power in containing all that emotion and feeling it to its fullest, so that you know it. how else do you know it? How else do you get to know the emotion and how it defines you and he, he how it reveals you? Because it doesn't really shape you. Although obviously some, like, major floods, and just rivers going through dry mountainous terrain will erode the mountain and will smooth it over, and but and again, that's a kind of life metaphor of life just being lived and felt, and it will do that to an internal landscape of a Capricorn moon, or any moon, any landscape, any internal landscape of any human being. But otherwise, it actually reveals you. And that's, I think, a quality difference. Not that it's a quality in the sense it's good, but it's like a qualitative difference in how I think we typically speak of emotions. It's that they define us. No, they reveal us. So defining would mean it has that creative force to actually create you from blank or from something, or recreate you. No, I maintain and claim that emotions are there to show us this mountain range, that it's our internal landscape. Without that something fluid coming onto that landscape and settling, and then us being able to lift it like a mask. I'm mixing my metaphors, it doesn't matter. And then to see that who we are, that we can't otherwise see, in that way, internal, right, landscape, is the purpose of emotion. Now that's how Moon in Capricorn functions and works and feels, and that's why I love my alleged emotional control. Well, it is, meaning I love it, and I now teach it. I mean, I'm not literally teaching it, but I'm advocating it. I'm spreading the word. I'm spreading the love for emotional control, but not as a way of oppressing. Is just as a way of, yes, I don't want witnesses because this is my stuff. It's nothing to do with you. Therefore, mind your own business. And I'm containing. I'm not showing it because I need it. I need it. You don't need it unless you're voyeuristically inclined or whatever else. But that again isn't gonna entice me. It's it's not my motive. I need all that emotion, and I need to feel it fully, completely on my own, in the privacy of my internal, self, or internal landscape, or internal, body, emotional body. So, to recap, emotional integrity, as taught to us by Moon in Capricorn, is about containment, is about feeling everything and all of it that's coming through you, that's just, that you have either invited or you have just bumped into it, anything and everything, feeling all of it. But in order to feel all of it, you need to do the Capricorn, please, I don't want to be disturbed, this is a private matter. Not the content, the process is the private matter. The content might be just trivial, and you don't feel, even no matter what moon it is, you don't feel shame or guilt or feeling bad or even vulnerable sharing it. It's not about that. It's that the process is private. You need that solitude, Capricorn, right? You need that aloofness, distance, and you need control. And you can't be controlling someone else that is just like I say, inconsequential to the process just because they want to be there present. So you need all that Capricorn stuff, right? To feel all of it. And only in doing that, you will be revealed to you. The you, yourself, the you, the real you, the deepest you, the most private, intimate you, your wholeness will be revealed to you. So, and then as you kind of do that, the rest is like the usual, if you like. It's just that, meaning you can just let go, you can even talk about it, and after that you do what you want. Now that's not anymore Moon in Capricorn necessarily work or a lesson. That's where your moon comes into it. So if you have it in Gemini, you might just want to write about it. If you have it in Capricorn, you just live with it like I do, and then maybe like this, share your wisdom, right? Or you have, you know what I mean. So that other after the feeling that is used to reveal you to you, you do your moon will do whatever it needs to do with it. Then you can have witnesses. Then you can go on stage and perform what you just experienced or whatever. Have art made out for it or from it. And that piece, whatever you want to do with it, will come from your own moon. But you can't. So you integrated it. That's how you integrate it. So whatever your moon is will have a way of doing something with what you have discovered as you have done moon in Capricorn model of feeling and model of emoting, which is to take yourself away from the rest, be in private, control yourself if it's happening while in public, great quality, hold it until you first and foremost feel it all. And once it's all, as you will know, you will feel that it's like nothing else left to be done. Work through, it's working you or you're working it, work being a Capricorn word. And one of the kind of things that you can count on is that you will see that in doing that, you will be realizing that, I don't know, so much of that, if anything, is actually yours, whatever it is you're feeling. And then it will just be gone out of your system. Or if it's yours, then you will then have been seeing it because you will move that mask metaphor, and you will see that that is you. And then you do what, like I say, whatever your moon wants to do with that. And that's the piece about showing how you integrated it. But the integration happens in this vacuum, in this seclusion. That's it, I think. So hopefully this was helpful.